Hello, everybody. It's Kentaiga, and guess what we're doing today? We're doing something special. I am someone who has never played Breath of the Wild before, and honestly, I said to myself, do I want to play Breath of the Wild on Switch? Because as much as I love the games that Nintendo makes, they are a little bit behind, technically. Now, there's nothing saying that that is a bad thing, right? Really, I don't think it should take away from the enjoyment of a game that much, right? It's just graphics. You can live. But you know what? Being the guy I am, I still want to see what this game could look like and run like if it's on a better system. And this, what you're looking at right now, well, you might have noticed in the top right corner, it's running a little fast for a Switch game. And that's because, surprise, it's not on the Switch at all. It's on an emulator on PC, baby. Yeah. And it actually runs pretty damn good. This is an excellent emulator, and this is an excellent version of the game you can play. And I'm going to show you how you can play this game on your computer, how to install all this stuff, how you can mod the game to make it look better, run better, and even add some extra features that aren't in the original game, and even how to fix some technical issues that come with the fact that this is not a native version of the game. Because honestly, despite all the complexities of this game, it runs like a dream. And I'm going to share that with you. Alright, so first things first, that you might have noticed, is that the game is not capped at 30 anymore. Whoop-de-fucking-do. That's great. The game runs at a proper frame rate. Amazing. It is actually very smooth. And in outdoor sections here, this is just a GTX 1080. You know, not the strongest card in the world, but it gets the job done. This game runs at about mid 70s FPS outside, pretty much all the time, give or take a few exceptions when there's like a lot of effects on the screen and whatnot. Very consistent frame rate. Even when I'm spinning around in the circle here, you can see it's gonna be around 70 to 80. Not at the rain stopped. It's up at around 80, and it's pretty good. And indoors, it actually caps out my frame rate at 144, which is the highest my monitor supports. So it runs pretty damn fine. And this is not to be unexpected. As you'll see when we install the game, this is actually the Wii U version of the game, not the Switch one. However, they are pretty much identical between those two versions. So obviously, though, either console, even a GTX 1080 is like 4 times as powerful as them. So obviously, you're getting some big benefits out of here. And also, you can do other things with this, including bump the resolution up and increase certain things like draw distances, LODs, and what have you. And so I'll actually go over some of the benefits that you can get here. And in this emulator, which I will show you how to install later, CEMU or CEMU, you can go down to these graphics packs here, and you'll get this little dialog box. Now, in this dialog box, there are plenty of things you can do. You see, there's just 3 main sections here: cheats, mods, and workarounds. So the cheats, which I don't have any currently enabled because I'm not a dirty cheater, but if you wanted to be a dirty cheater, you could be. And you can read all of these things. Pretty much all these things are infinite mods or unlocker mods, so you can just do whatever the hell you want. If you want to fuck around the game, you can fuck around the game. It doesn't care. And that's it's actually pretty fun stuff, I'm sure. But it's my first time playing the game, so I don't even know what half these things are. Second screen are mods. Not cheating mods, just straight up mods. And there are actually some pretty cool built-in options to CEMU here. Camera sensitivity mods, different cell shading presets. You can mess with the daytime. You can mess with the color for things. And the ones that I personally use here that I think are the most useful is the draw distance mod, which means that you can increase how far things are rendered in the scene, which is pretty useful because the original game, as far as I could tell, has very, very close to the camera pop in. This pretty much solves it by allowing you to push it out farther. And including down here as well, you can set the actual LOD bias here. Even though this is not recommended, I'm doing -16, so that LOD is all the way out. It is as detailed as the textures are going to get in this game without extra modding. Now, the main mod that's actually allowing me to increase my FPS here is this one right here, is FPS++. You get to set your own frame rate limit, and it will pretty much do exactly that and nothing more. And unlike a lot of emulated games, it is able to keep the game speed consistent. It won't go slower or faster depending on the frame rate, which is good. And additionally, this mod also fixes some issues with high frame rate, like certain cutscenes causing the game to just kill itself upon getting into them. The game actually just dynamically makes them run at 30 FPS, so it won't cause that issue, which is pretty good. Another thing that you can do is mess with the distance fog. Now, I currently am not actually changing the fog, but I have made it so the lighting renders a lot farther out. You can actually make it go really far, but I think it makes it too bright. You can also make it darker, and it's pretty cool. And another thing too, and this was pretty awesome, is that you can also get Xbox buttons on the game. Now, this is actually a built-in mod, which is pretty cool, but there's also one you can get that's installed to a different thing. But just pulling this up right here, you can see how when I pause the game and go to the system, it has an Xbox controller, whole custom UI and everything for it. And that is also the same for the buttons itself. As you can see on the UI here, the buttons are matched to the Xbox buttons. However, they are rotated like the Switch. However, they are correct. They do use the right terminology for the triggers and stuff. So that's nice. It's nowhere near as bad as you think it would be. Annoying, I should say. Now, there are also some other things that we can look at as well in the enhancement sections. Now, this one is pretty interesting. So you can add a clarity preset, as they call it. And this essentially will change like things like sharpness and whatnot. So I'll put this game in full screen for a second here and turn off Reshade. We'll get to that later. And you can see some of the different effects you can get. Here's this preset that I think is a little extreme, but it does add some pretty dark, gritty filter to it. It looks kind of cool in its own way. A little too sharp for my liking. You'll see some of the colors are very grungy. But that's just one of many. I can also make it lighter or darker, depending on which preset I select here. And there are tons pre-installed, including this filmic preset, which the sharpness is hilarious. You can make this game look however you want. Now, on this playthrough, since it is my first playthrough of this game, I've decided to leave it at the default clarity preset here. And I think it looks just fine. But you do have those options in store. Additionally, as you can see here, you can also disable depth of field if you want to. Useful if you're using like Reshade and it's doing it for you. You can also use enhanced reflections, which mod makers went out of their way to make them better in this version of the game. And you can also force anisotropic filtering to be better as well. Obviously, good thing. And of course, the Switch doesn't actually use higher anisotropic filtering. Neither does the Wii U version, which is the one we're using here. And there's another mod right here, just called graphics. Now, this one lets you set display settings. So we have the resolution here. You can go as high as 10K. You got that 3090 Ti, and then go crazy. Go fucking crazy. Play this game in 10K. It doesn't matter. You can also set to Interlacing, although both of them are FXAA, and actually looks kind of bad in this game, so I recommend keeping them off. You can also change the shadows. You can make them really precise if you want. And you also change the draw distance for them. But this one actually does affect how blurry they are, but it is pretty cool. I leave them very high, so it doesn't affect the way they look. And overall, a lot of good changes. Now, these are just built-in mods for CEMU. I will also get into some other mods that you can install externally that will actually do extra things for you. So in addition to the mods I showed you, there are also mods that you can download from third-party sites, mainly Game Banana, where you can get more mods that are not in the base package for CEMU. And the two I currently have are, one of them you already saw was the Xbox One UI. Even though it was listed in that other mod section, that was for the buttons like in the game. The one in the menu was this one. And also something I do think is really important is the HD textures for the UI elements. This makes the game look significantly better because even in docked mode on the Switch version, even on this version where it's all the 720p by default, the textures look so blurry, especially for text. It looks awful. This fixes it. Everything on the menu in the map is 3 times higher resolution, so they will look good at 4K, and it is very convenient. And there are also a ton of other mods, and I'll show you just a snippet of the stuff you can put into this game. And some of them are pretty cool. I have a very vanilla setup here, but you can get pretty wild if you so choose. So there are plenty of ways to go about installing the emulator and Breath of the Wild on the emulator. But the method I'm going to show you here is one that will allow you to do a lot of this process in one step rather than having to download a bunch of different programs from a bunch of different sites. So here we're at the GitHub page for USB Helper, and this is a program that essentially allows you to install the Wii U ROM and allow you to install the files for Wii U games. So when you're on this page here, you're just going to click on the latest version and you're going to download it right here. Simple. Now, after you get set up and get sufficiently far enough through the process, you'll come to this screen that's asking you for a ticket or a title key. Now, these are the way Nintendo can verify that you own something and can download something. And now you could, enter a site that has all the ROMs on it if you want to be a dirty little pirate. But if you dump the ROMs yourself, you can also just use this method where you can get these title.tick files, and that will also give you the rights to use the game and download them. But if you are going to be a dirty little pirate, you put the Wii U site right here. Or whatever archive. I guess you don't have to be a pirate. You can make your own archive and upload it to the internet. But that's how you get the ticket files and allow you to download the games that you need in order to play, including Breath of the Wild. Now, once you do all that, you should come to this screen, which is essentially a library where you can download pretty much any Wii U game you want. They also have some 3DS and actual Wii games on here as well. But if you want Breath of the Wild, just search up Breath of the Wild. Now, I've already downloaded it here. You will need to essentially click on this, and then you're going to click on play this game, and then it will say you don't have an emulator. And then you can download CEMU, and it will install into a certain directory underneath this program. And then you're going to click it again, and it'll actually download the game itself and all the DLC that come with it and all the update files as well. And then once you do that, well, then you have a playable version of the game. But if you want to use third-party mods, you're going to need to do another step too, and I'm going to show you how to do that now. So in order to install third-party mods, you're going to need to use something called BCML or Breath of the Wild Cross-Platform Mod Loader. And you can find this on Nexus Mods at the link right here, and all you're going to do is go to Files and download it right here. And now, once you go through the process of downloading it, you'll come to a screen that look kind of like this. It won't have this top bar because I'm just showing you. Well, I already have it installed, but when you're installing it, you'll see pretty much the same screen. And it's going to ask you where all these directories are. Now, if you already installed the game through the launcher that I showed you, you should have the files inside of a certain folder. Now, for me, if I go to my file structure here, you can see that where I installed my games will be in a folder like this, which just says data. And you can actually set this download folder here. See, if I right click, it will take me to the same place right here. And so wherever you install those things, that's where CEMU is going to be. And it's going to be asking for files from that location. So when it asks you, you're going to click through emulators, CEMU, and then you're going to get to this screen. And it's going to, at this point, tell you pretty much where you need to look. So for here, for instance, this one's going to ask you where the CEMU directory is. You're probably going to want to manually do this, even though that's optional. And it's going to be the one that has CEMU, exe, and settings.xml in it. You're going to find that in bin, and it's going to be right here. So this is going to be the folder you want. The second thing it's going to ask you is the base game directory. Now this one's going to be in a different folder. It's going to be back out here. It's going to be in games, here, content. And this is it. And the last two, the update directory and the DLC directory, they're in kind of a weird spot. As you read here, they're going to be in this folder called MLC01, and it's actually not in the games folder, it's in the bins folder back here. And it's referring to this folder right here. And you're going to go to user, you're going to go to title, and then it's going to be one of these folders. Now, this one, if you read the green text here, it will actually show you which folder you need to go to. So as you can see here, it's asking for the one that ends in E for the update. So it's referring to this folder, this one, and this one. And as you can see, last folder should be content. So it's this folder right here. Put that in here. And for this one, it's the same thing, except instead of E, it's asking for C. So head back to MLC here. You're just going to click on C. instead and go through it. Same thing, last folder's content. This folder right here is what you paste in here. And once you do all that and click save, it'll take you to this screen here. So once you have that all set up, you can go to a site like Game Banana, and they have a whole section dedicated to Breath of the Wild mods. You can also go on Nexus mods, but it seems like most of the mods for Breath of the Wild are hosted here, so screw it, just go here. And there are plenty of mods in here that you can download. A lot of reshades are in here, some redesign stuff is in here, a lot of model changes like changing the character to Linkle instead, and a lot of other things too. Here's like one of the mods I have, for instance, the HD icons and map. You got some music overhauls. You got plenty of things here, and you can read these all day. There are a lot that you can download, and especially the skins. 950. It's a lot of skins. Obviously, people just want to play as female Link, so they will. So once you download one of these mods, you're just going to click on the plus button here, and you're just going to browse for it. Now, you have to make sure it is one of these file types. So I recommend just leaving the mods you download zipped, but if you unzip them for whatever reason, you can just click on the rules.txt file that's going to be within the unzipped package and put that in there. And then once you click on it, it will show up in a couple seconds, and you're just going to click install, and it will install right there. And then you're just going to keep doing that. Now, when you're done with this, you don't have to do this, but it didn't work unless I did it. After everything's done, you want to click remerge, and this will make it so the mods, you know, settle in their place and they work properly. And now that you're done with that, you can click this button right here, and you'll see after all this process, and remember, make sure that the game has already been completely downloaded from the Wii U helper launcher that I showed you earlier. If it's not all the way installed, obviously this stuff won't work. But as you can see, it opens CEMU, and it's compiling the shaders that I already got, but this first launch will be quicker for you. And once that's done, you can play the game. And as I said before, you can fiddle around with the settings in here to get what you want. Something I also recommend you screw around with is the input settings here. Obviously, you're going to probably want to use a controller for a game that's built for a controller. And so you can just set up all the things you need to here, just like you would on any other emulator. You can also change some general settings in here, which would be pretty nice. All these filters in question, set up the audio, any overlays. You can turn off all those shader compilations or FPS things if you so choose. And that's pretty much it. And now you have a fully functioning version of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild on PC with mods. Another thing that you can take advantage of, since this is a PC port of the game, so to speak, well, not a port, an emulation, but still, it is a version of the game that can run on PC. And wow, look at that meteor go. I don't even know what that is. I haven't played this game. I think I should go get that. But something interesting that you can do is that since it's a PC game, you can use Reshade. And Reshade is a pretty cool damn thing to use. You can change the entire look of the game at the press of a button, and you got all these, well, there's 69 nice settings left here. I have a Reshade preset already installed, but you can make your own or download a different one. But this program can let you change just about anything. I even have a lot of the ones that were built in on the disabled. But there's things like fog that you can add that looks pretty nice in my opinion. You can do things like turn on Fidelity FX CAS, which makes the game look sharper. It's pretty much anti-aliasing. SMAA anti-aliasing as well. That's pretty cool. And damn, that moon is moving fast. Bloom, color balance stuff. There's hundreds. If you ever used Reshade before, you'll know that it's pretty much the same thing, and it looks pretty damn good. I will admit that it is a little janky on occasion, which is why I do not leave it on by default. Also, first play through the game, I probably want it to look like it originally did. But you can totally change the game, and probably the best thing about this is that you can get rid of this, piss yellow filter that's over the entire game by making it just a little bluer. As you can see, the game does kind of lose that yellowness, which I do think probably looks better. But it's pretty cool that you can use that, and it's very simple to set up. I won't show you how to install Reshade because you can install Reshade on literally anything on your computer. You could reshade your Chrome browser if you wanted to. So this is another cool feature that you can have as an option when playing this game. Now, there are some things that you will need to worry about that you wouldn't actually need to worry about in the original versions of this game. Being an emulator, obviously nothing is 100% the same. There needs to be some liberties taken with the way the game handles certain things. And one of those things is the way it renders things. You see in the top left corner right there, it is shaders. Shaders have to compile. And if you don't let them compile, well, then nothing's gonna happen with them. So you need to compile these shaders in order to actually see things in the game and that have them show up as anything besides, you know, black textures. What happens is when they're compiling, the game will do a little stutter, and you're gonna have to deal with this. There's really nothing you could do about it. The only option that you have is that you could download someone else's shaders and put them into a folder on CEMU. I don't even recommend you waste your time with it, because the more you play this game, the less you'll see it, because obviously once it once it, you know, saves a shader and compiles it for the first time, it will just leave it, and then you'll never have to load it again. Or not load it, but you'll never have to, like, you know, like compile it again. It's already pre-compiled. So you will have to deal with those little micro stutters on occasion. They're not that bad. Once you get out of the intro area of the game, you've already gotten rid of 90% of them. So something you might come across while playing this game is one of these gyro sensor thingies. And when you click on it, you know, you have this pop-up that says you can only use the Wii U gamepad. Now, if you're playing on this version, you probably don't have a Wii U gamepad, or it's probably not connected. And there are a lot of different ways to get gyro working on PC, but not all of them are very accurate. And if you're in case of using like an Xbox controller, like I am, it has no gyro inside of it, so you cannot use it as a proper method. If you have a DualShock 4, you will be able to use it. It's supported natively by CEMU, so you can get away with using that. Another thing you could use is a Wiimote. And if you have an IR sensor, you can use that as gyro controls, which is kind of amusing. But I think neither of those are very convenient. No one likes to set up a PlayStation controller on a PC anyways. So something I found out is pretty cool. You can use the phone. Huh? That's pretty cool. I think this is actually like the coolest thing ever, that I can use my phone to control the gyro control. This is actually really, really awesome. And so the way you do this is actually a simple download that you can get. There is this GitHub page called Web Gyro for CEMU Hook. And all you're gonna do is go to the releases over here and just download the latest zip over here, and then unzip it anywhere and run it. And then when you run it, you're going to get this little command over here. I'll full screen this so you can see it easier. So you're going to get all this stuff here. It's going to tell you to go into CEMU and change the gamepad motion source to DSU1 by slot. And I'll just show you how that looks here. It's going to be in options, gamepad motion source, and they're talking about this thing right here. It should already be set to by slot, and it should automatically detect when this program's open. So you shouldn't have to do it, but if you need to check, that's where it is. On the command prompt here, it's going to tell you to connect to this IP address. This is going to be your local IP address and then a port number, usually 8080. And then what you're going to do is when you get to this website, you're going to have to click on this. There's going to be a link here that says to connect to this source. Now, chances are you're using an iPhone that has iOS 12 or bigger. And if you need that, you need to go to this link. It would be your local IP address and then all this. But there should just be a button that says this page, and you can click on that when you're at the website. And you're also going to need to allow the website permission to use the gyro inside your phone. So just let that happen. Once that happens, it should automatically start flashing numbers on the phone. And the numbers will correspond to the rotation orientation of the phone. And it's really cool. And the moment that happens, like I said, when you go back to the game here, your phone can be used as a gyro source. And it is a little janky, but it actually is surprisingly better than you'd think. And it's not like overreactive or anything. It's pretty well tuned. I mean, you can see my hand. I move it this way. It moves pretty much about the same distance in the other direction. So that's pretty nice. So, you know, I can rotate this very easily. It's by default, it's set to say vertical is normal. You can also set the horizontal as normal, but that's up to you. So, you know, solve this puzzle really simply, just like you would in the original version. I just flip my phone over and try and make sure these things don't slide all over the place. And let's set this up like this. Done. And once you cancel out, it won't move anymore. And look at that. I could walk across, and I didn't even need to use a Wii U gamepad. Isn't that cute? I think there's something to be said about how good emulation is right now. You can pretty much emulate almost any console, and there are emulators coming up for even the more recent consoles like PlayStation 4 and Xbox that get more stable every day. And it's pretty damn impressive just how well some of these things run. I mean, as you can see in the background footage here, the game runs as smoothly as you can really ask for on an emulator. I don't think 10 years ago a game even half as good looking as this could run anything above like 10 FPS before there was an issue. And now we can run shit like this like it's nothing. And it's honestly just a testament to how good emulation is now. And there are so many projects, so many people dedicated to making emulation better on PC every day. And it is genuinely a great way to play games. And I hope more people explore emulation like this. I just made this video because this emulator honestly impressed me with how good it was, and I never even heard of it until I just decided I wanted to play Breath of the Wild. And I think it's kind of cool how I could just say, I want to play, XYZ, and I can just, go get an emulator and I can play it on PC easily. I think that's pretty cool. Now, obviously, I can't just sit here and endorse piracy or whatever, but genuinely speaking, I mean, even if you own a legal copy of the game, this is a cool way to be able to get more out of a game that you might have already played or never played before that you can then get improvements on with pretty much no extra cost to you. And that's something I really do genuinely enjoy. Another thing that I love about emulators is that you can preserve pretty much any game. I mean, Breath of the Wild, it's going to be on Switch, but what happens when the next generation of consoles come out? Is Breath of the Wild ever going to be ported over to those? Well, knowing Nintendo, maybe they will do it, and maybe it will cost another $800,000 to let that happen, or another $50 subscription service on top of that. So it's nice to have these options where these games will never go away, and they will be pretty much as good as they can be thanks to the power of an unlocked PC. And I think that's something that we should genuinely cherish. And with that, that is the end of the showcase. I hope you learned something about how you can play games like Breath of the Wild on PC and mod them and do whatever you want with them. Taking control of how you play games is good. It means you get to make the game as fun as you want it to be. You get to attune it however you wish, and you can enjoy it however you want. And you can't have any other company telling you how you should play their game. You can play it as you wish on whatever platform you like. And that is something that I think we should appreciate. And I hope that you can appreciate it too. And I hope you will tune in for my next video. Bye-bye.